afternoon, evening to everybody. Victor, you made it.
I made it. It was a tough fight, but I made it. Yeah.
I just made it too. In case you're wondering, which you're probably not wondering about this part, but hey, if you've never been here before, my name's Darren. This is Victor. We're the co-host of the DevOps Paradox podcast. And on Fridays, we try to do this live. So that's what we're doing live today. So my power went out about 30 minutes ago. And they said, oh, it'll be back in 4 hours. I went, okay. Well, that could be a challenge. But fortunately, it wasn't a big deal, and it was back in about 20 minutes. So it's amazing that we're here today. We have some news. We have news today.
What's the news then?
Not news about us. But here's one of the news items that we saw this week. In fact, I saw Carlos mention it this week. AWS announces CodeArtifact. Now, if you haven't looked at it yet, what CodeArtifact is, and I'm pulling up my information here, is basically a competitor, if you will, to what is available in Artifactory, Nexus, and those kinds of things. Now, it's very cool. I looked through it. By the way, I don't have any drinks today. I'm out. So you're going to have to drink double from me. Okay, good. So what was interesting about CodeArtifact, they talk about NPM, they talk about Maven, they talk about all the other things. What they did not talk about is Docker. So my guess is they're still all in on ECR as a Docker registry.
I would guess so. I mean, they will probably integrate it, behind the scenes,
so.
Who knows?
Yeah, because to have to go to 2 different places to get my stuff, I mean, it's not a big deal.
Depends what do you mean by 2 different places, like 2 different URLs?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice if it's one, but really...
It's a nice to have.
I don't know where so the images that I use right now, right, where I'm storing them, I don't know where they are. I don't know. I probably set up GCR once.
Yep.
And it's somewhere in my config, right? And it just kind of gets them from there. So I don't think it matters much. And it's a logical move because I think that for those who are on a single vendor, right? Only AWS, only GCP, only Azure. This is commodity right now to me.
Yes.
I would not even spend a millisecond thinking where to keep my artifacts if I'm running in cloud, public cloud.
So one thing that was in the press release that came out the other day, there's actually a live stream about this today. So if you're watching this as we're doing this live, it is in about 3 hours from now. They have a LinkedIn Live or a Twitch stream going on on the Twitch AWS account today at noon Pacific time. So if you're interested in this, go watch that stream. I was hoping to see it, but I can't go do it today, unfortunately. I'll watch the replay. I got added onto a few client calls today, so I can't even listen to it in the background. But one thing I noticed that was interesting here from the FAQ was, I think it was the last one. So yes, I can use CodeArtifact with code build. That sort of makes sense. And can you use CodeArtifact with code pipeline? The answer is yes. So this is yet just another one of the code bricks in the wall, if you will, with apologies to Pink Floyd. That code infrastructure now has really built out. The code star, if you will, even though they actually have a product called CodeStar too, I think, or somebody else does. So this is interesting, right? I mean, I think that was probably one of their last big missing pieces for the code area.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
Right. So we have almost every company already has a place where they store their artifacts, right?
Yes.
And usually to change the place or the tool you use to do something, that is usually happening when there is some significant shift
right
in something not directly related to it, right?
Yep.
So now I would assume that, if you already had Artifactory or whatever you're having, you're not changing just for the sake of changing. But maybe if you're, let's say, jumping into Kubernetes, that would be that impetus to rethink your artifact. But then you're not you're not storing artifacts anymore. You're storing only container images.
Right.
So I'm failing to find the use case.
Well, it's for people that aren't doing Docker-based things yet.
Yeah, but they already have artifact registry.
Oh, exactly. Well, so I ran into a client recently that's producing Python packages, but they're not using a PyPy registry behind it. They're just putting it on disk and pulling it in.
Okay, yeah, for those.
So, again, it's low performance.
I didn't know that. But hey, okay, are they on cloud? I would suspect that they're in some on-prem bunker, so they're not a use case either.
Yeah, and they're not. And that's true. But if I'm doing a greenfield project right now, the code asterisk solution is very interesting. So
yeah,
and I won't go any deeper than that. What are your thoughts about it? Right? If you got thoughts about where you think AWS really going to eat the developer world? I don't know. I don't think so. But if you're all in on AWS,
I think so.
You think they will?
I mean, not AWS per se, but AWS, Azure, Google.
Yes.
My crystal board says that everything that is not you writing code and everything that is not your application, that's going to go away.
Yeah.
Artifactory, that will disappear. Nexus will disappear. Even CI/CD tools. I mean, all of those things are going to become a service.
Yes.
You pay somebody money. That's it.
Yep. So if you got any questions or comments about that, go ahead and put them over in the chat. Unless your chat's below, then you can put the chat below. Second item today. We may dwell here just a little bit. So there's a new alternative to Kubernetes. Brand new. And it's called, I don't have the button for that one. It's called Docker Swarm.
Button?
It's called Docker
Swarm. I'm disappointed at you. Darren, you did something you shouldn't have done.
What?
You showed me the article before this session.
I did.
Yeah, you shouldn't have, because I'm like,
no, because
I get such a cool reaction that I cannot reproduce now. I cannot do it again.
So I read an article on LinkedIn by a gentleman, I won't name him, that his belief, if I read it correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, Victor, but his belief is that Docker Swarm is brand new and is better than Kubernetes. Did you read it that way?
Yeah, I read it in terms like kind of, for too long, Kubernetes and Mesos were dominating the market. Now we have a new, better solution, which is Docker Swarm. I was in a meeting with a customer. I couldn't stop laughing. They were asking me kind of not asking, but looking at me like, what's wrong with you? Why such a reaction by speaking to us?
Now, obviously, if you followed us for any point in time, Victor used to have a book about Docker Swarm. Well, the book is still alive, but it's dead, right?
Yeah.
Is there a use case for Docker Swarm today? Seriously, okay, no joking. Put all that aside. Is there a real use case for Docker Swarm today?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No, there is. Okay, let's be honest. There is use case if you want a simple way to manage a cluster applications, right? If you want something that is simple and just that works out of the box, and you're okay with the limitations it has, then so if it fulfills your requirements, Swarm is beautiful. It's amazing. I love it, to be honest, for what it does.
Yes. But the problem is it's not equivalent to Kubernetes or Mesos for that matter.
The thing is that no matter how simple it is always an investment. Even if you don't need to learn anything, there is an investment to set it up. There is always an investment. And investing in something, no matter how beautiful it is, that we know it's dead, right? Kind of, there is nothing, no movement, it's dead. It's just a waste. right? Doesn't matter whether it ended up being 1 day of somebody's work. It's never 1 day.
Right.
1 month, 1 year. It's a waste of something that is dead. Now, it's okay something dead like mainframe, right? Because you already have a large investment in mainframe. So that's okay. And I wouldn't actually even recommend people who are using Swarm today, really, really using in production, to switch to Kubernetes unless they have a good use case for those additional things.
Sure.
But if you start from scratch.
Well, okay, so if you're starting from scratch, but everything else within your company is Swarm, it would probably be worth at least evaluating Kubernetes where it's at today. But realistically, you need to stay at Swarm.
Yeah, I mean, then that's not really starting from scratch. It's just,
right.
Your company's audience.
Yeah, it has to be
true scratch. Kind of, you're now thinking how you're going to run your containers.
Yes.
You come to the office one day and say, "Oh, I should like to use containers. How am I going to do this?" Then Swarm is out.
Yeah. Mohammed.
But that article, I will get back to Nomad. That article shows profound misunderstanding of actually history of the last years.
Yes.
Read it, please. I hope that, I don't know, is it too much if you put it in comments? I know that we shouldn't say the name, but I mean, it's a public article, right? So you can put it in the comments.
I will put a link to the article in the description after the show today.
Yeah.
So it'll be up later this afternoon. So if you want to go back and rewatch this while you're maybe have 1 or 2 or 6 beverages before you read it, it might. Again, I don't want to poke because he was sincere in his writing.
Yeah.
Very sincere. I think he's just misinformed.
Sincerely wrong.
Or uninformed. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I believe he's uninformed. Let's go back to Mohammed's question here, as I was clicking it a lot. So what about Nomad?
Okay, you're not gonna like the answer, but that one died long before Swarm died.
Okay.
That's how I see it. I think it was the first casualty. So from the way how I see the orchestration history, there was Swarm, Nomad, Mesos, Kubernetes.
Yep.
Nomad was the first one to be kind of like out of the game, then Mesos. Even though Mesos had a bigger users base than anybody else. And then Swarm, throw the towel, and that means only Kubernetes. But I think that HashiCorp never created a good use case for Nomad. It's not really, it's kind of container orchestrator, but also it can orchestrate non-containers, but it's not good in either. And just don't.
Okay. Vladislav, I have modified my microphone. Hopefully it's louder. Victor, can you hear me better?
I hear you great.
Well, you always hear me fine. Speaking of hearing me fine, if you watched last week's episode, it sounded like I was on a never-ending supply of helium. So this was the culprit last week, and I'd had a power outage. Gee, go figure. I have power outages almost every week, and the sample rate got switched back to default, which made me sound like a chipmunk. So today I went back to just the standard old USB microphone that I use for the podcast, and I've been jacking around with the volumes all day. So, Vladislav, if I sound better, let me know. Just put it in the comments, or if I still need to turn up a little bit more to be even with Victor, I'll do that too. Okay, so we'll put a link to that article that we saw talking about Docker Swarm down in the description. Don't bash the guy, right? So. Now Neil has this comment about Swarm as a stepping stone. I think that's dangerous.
No,
I disagree completely. I understand the concept, but if I'm going to do it as a stepping stone, I'm going to use Minikube or Minishift, depending on what my target platform is going to be. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of it's really completely. You do with Swarm, you do understand concepts, kind of like what is a container, and what is a scheduler. So, in that sense, it is a stepping stone.
Yeah.
But then you will end up maintaining 2 sets of definitions of the same.
Yep.
And that makes no sense. Kind of have Docker Compose and Helm or whatever you're using Kubernetes. That's just a waste. Now, I would understand if kind of like, oh, but my developers this or that. But Docker desktop, Docker, the same Docker that you mentioned
Yes.
works as Kubernetes.
Correct. Well, that's true. I keep on forgetting that's there now.
Yeah, so Docker on your Windows or Mac, unless it's Linux, runs in Docker Kubernetes mode, if you check the checkbox.
Right.
And I would argue that if we ignore, so the real difficulty is in defining specifications of an application, right?
Right.
And that's much more complicated in Kubernetes than in Docker. But if you are going to do Kubernetes anyway, then for developers, running Helm apply is just as hard or easy as Docker compose up.
Right. Maybe. There's less switches on Docker compose up. There's a lot of switches on Helm apply.
Yeah, but kind of like just never execute --help. Just don't run --help. That's okay.
So it's what it is. Okay. One more tool, and then we'll just sort of talk and answer some other questions. Where is that one? There it is. So Loft, I saw this come through this week. It's talking about giving your team direct access to Kubernetes. It gives your team the ability to create namespaces on demand. Well, gee, this sounds really familiar.
I need this.
You need this?
If it is what I think it is, I really need it immediately for the project I'm working on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this might be it. I don't know. Works with any Kubernetes cluster. I like how they put Rancher up front. It's just normal. You're used to seeing normally, the big three here at the front in some order, but then they got DigitalOcean, they got Alibaba, right? It's pretty funny.
But maybe you're wrong because my eyes went to the middle first.
Oh, that may be true. I don't know. I always look left to right first, so it's. But anyway, this looks interesting. I haven't played with it yet. I do have a cluster going in this afternoon, so I may end up installing it into that cluster just to see what it does. But it looks interesting anyway. And of course, it's a free plus paid. So there's their status is there. Again, I haven't figured it out yet, so that's what it is.
Speaking of that, I have a personal news.
Oh, you do?
Which does not apply to anything related to companies I work with and material I'm working on.
Okay.
After like 2 years of running my personal Kubernetes cluster, I shut it down yesterday and moved everything I have somewhere else. I'm not using for my personal projects Kubernetes anymore.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to expound a little bit more?
Actually, I am using Kubernetes. I switched to Knative, but using Knative, right? The Kubernetes serverless stuff.
Yep.
But instead of Knative that I was running in my Kubernetes, but instead of running my Kubernetes cluster, I'm just using Cloud Run in Google for all my personal. That's pet projects, so it's not serious stuff.
Right.
Pet projects. I'm still using my same definitions and stuff like that, my same images.
Yep.
But kind of like serverless.
That's what I was getting ready to say. So you've moved to the S word.
Yes, but on my own terms. It's so what I dislike with serverless, like lambdas. It's a bloody function. Kind of like, what do I do with the function? I really never understood what do I do with the function. Right. So this is a pet project, not serious, right? But I have a website like DevOpsToolkit.com.
Yes.
I cannot make it a function. I don't know how to make it. It would need to be 100 functions, right?
Right.
But I have a container image. I just said Google kind of like run my container image. So I'm doing the same. I'm doing the same what I was doing in my own cluster. It's just that I'm not having my own cluster anymore.
So now you're saying that how do they have that packaged or productized? Is it just Knative?
It is Knative. That's what attracts me to it, right?
Okay.
I had that app already running as Knative in my cluster.
Yeah. Oh, so you basically you ditched the cluster and you took your Knative from your cluster.
Yes.
And went to the productized Knative.
Exactly. So kind of I'm doing exactly the same. I'm just not managing my cluster anymore. I'm not suggesting that everybody should move to Knative. That's not the story. But on a personal note, all my personal stuff is still running in Knative, but I'm not running my cluster anymore.
Are we going to rewrite all the books and courses to do that?
Actually, I already started the next section about that.
Well, next section is okay. Next is okay. Not redo.
Not redo.
What's up, Moz?
Hey, Moz.
So, well, see, yeah, you didn't even bother to tell me that. Here I am.
I did it yesterday.
Oh, okay. Did you do it right before you went to sleep? Is that when you did it?
Yes.
Okay.
Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
But hey, it's working. From user perspective, we will not see a difference if anybody goes ever to that site.
Interesting. So now you've got me thinking about other things, but that's not for now. We're here for you, the viewers. But now you've sent me down a bad path here.
Wait,
so you've gone Knative.
Yes.
For now.
No, I've been Knative a long time ago.
You've gone what do they call it? I'll pull it up here.
Cloud Run. Google Cloud Run.
Okay, I'll pull it up here real quick just because.
So there are different modes. You can run it with gcloud command, right? Just say this is my image, run it.
Yeah.
And then Google Cloud would convert that into Knative YAML file.
Interesting.
Or you can just send that YAML file, the same one that I had before.
Right here. Boom ya.
Yeah.
That's it. Boom ya.
But
booyah. Huh.
Booyah, I think.
Yeah,
but
booyah.
that was the missing piece. Kind of, I never disliked the idea of serverless. I disliked the idea of functions.
Interesting.
But yeah.
So if I wanted to do this today on not GCP, I would still have to run my cluster, but I could still do the Knative.
Yes, exactly. You can do the same thing. I mean, you can also make your cluster scalable, stuff like that. So it's not that you will save a lot of money. It's just more kind of like, why would I run my cluster if I don't have to? For my use case. Right.
So it's only pay when your code build to the nearest 100 milliseconds. Okay, so they're following the serverless model.
Yeah.
So which is what all the, whoa, baby. Anyway, I was trying to find other things. So that's interesting because now with Knative, if you start, you okay? Okay.
Yes.
If you start migrating your apps to Knative based apps, and you know how to build your own clusters, and you wanted to go multi-provider today, well, if you needed to run in all three, the big three, you would be on the hook for running Kubernetes in Azure and AWS, but then you could just use Cloud Run on GCP.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect world. Now, that's what you would do.
I think that so to be honest, now all three big providers are doing the same thing. I don't remember in Azure was the name, but this is basically from user perspective, this is equivalent to Fargate with ECS in AWS. Right? It's the same thing. Now, what pulls me away from ECS and pulls me towards this is that this is not Google random stuff that I don't know what it is.
Right.
This is Kubernetes cluster.
Yes.
This is GK cluster. This is Knative that I can use wherever I want. It's an open source project. I can consult. So I'm not doing things Google specific way, but I'm letting Google manage my stuff.
Right.
Which is a different thing, I believe.
Yeah, I completely agree on that. So basically, Vladislav, it is Knative as a service.
Yes.
Cloud Run is Knative as a service.
Exactly. I don't think that they're really talking much about Knative. They're making it more look like it's their own stuff.
Yeah.
But it is Knative. And it is GK behind the scenes and all that stuff.
Yeah. I was trying to find their direct pricing, but let's see, price list. I am not going to find it that way. Let's see. Cloud Run. Am I on the right? Oh, it's not.
If you
Oh, I
learn
got
how
space.
to type, it might work. Yeah.
Hey, stop that. Oh, it's even on Anthos. That's interesting. Okay, here. Let's take a look at it. So they still have cloud functions. Which
Yeah, they do.
Azure's is Azure Functions.
So it's Azure Functions, Cloud Functions, and Lambda, right? That's
Correct.
one bucket.
Correct.
And then we have VCS with Fargate.
Yes. And then
Cloud Run, which is Kubernetes with Knative, and I don't know exactly what Azure, but I think they have something similar.
Yeah. So basically, you get the first that many CPUs seconds free. You get that many gig free. You get a number of requests free, and then you get a gig free of egress. And then we're talking 5 digits of pennies there. That's interesting.
No, I mean, let's be honest. If you can manage to make your cluster have full utilization of the nodes and stuff like that, it's almost certainly cheaper going to be than this, right?
Absolutely. But if you've got a lightweight project, like your stuff, right? A lightweight project, you may never spend a penny on this.
Not only that, but it's not only about the price of computing power. It's also me sleeping well at night.
Yes, because you know it's just going to run.
Yeah.
So I had a project I was working on, like a personal project I was working on, and I did everything in Lambda. I had like, I don't know, there's 15, 16 different Lambda functions that all sequenced together, right? Because it was just a practice thing for me. But I ended up tearing it down because for me to keep that full infrastructure up and running, because I needed a VPC, I needed to pay for a NAT gateway. I was doing it in AWS, obviously. There were a lot of things that I had to keep running. That was costing me about 60, 70 bucks a month just to keep everything running. Now it looks like I obviously can't just take the code and run it because it wasn't Knative. This was 2 or 3 years ago. But this, I could report it to this, and now my only probably hard cost is going to be a database because I need a data store behind it.
Yeah. And that probably you would pay, if you use it as a service, you would pay by traffic or something.
Yeah, it'd be
volume of data.
Pretty small, yeah. Okay, well, I had a long list of things to do this weekend. Now I have a longer list of things to do this weekend.
And can I send a personal message to Vladislav?
Yes.
Vladislav, that's why I was telling you 2 years ago to jump on Knative, and you didn't.
Yeah. Maz, do you think it's the right time to work on Knative as we were busy with Istio and observability? Boy, that's a good question.
Apples and oranges.
It is. You need, well, it depends, right? Let me make it up here. Let's say should I just focus on writing my app Knatively? Here, I made that word up. Or do I focus on all the other stuff? And I think if you can start writing it Knatively, why not? Right?
Yeah, but ultimately, so if you're talking about Knative inside of your cluster, so not Google stuff, right?
Right.
Actually, for the Knative to really work, you need observability.
Right.
I mean, and for Istio to work, you need observability. And basically, I would say in inverse order of what you wrote, I would probably go kind of observability, then Istio, then Knative. Knative doesn't work without Istio or a service mesh to begin with. So you cannot not have Istio or alternative.
But done correctly, if you just set up observability and Istio, I'm going to say out of the box, Knative should just work. It may not be the exact way that you want it, but it should just work.
Ignoring potential bugs, just works.
So, and this is, so we actually did a recording that's going to come out on the 24th, I think, with the creator of Powerful Seal. And this is one of the things that he brought up. It's like, look, even if I just create or if I'm trying to debug my app, now where is the problem? In Kubernetes, we no longer know that it's just my app. It could be something that happened in the app and there was something unassociated to that happened somewhere else.
Exactly.
Or case in point, let's say you've got an app that's running and it has a dependency to make sure certain tags are associated with the instances on that instance. But you have a Reaper come through and wipe out all of the tags, right? It's like going under the hood and making changes, and your application stops working. Well, your application, from an application perspective, still looks okay. But because you had something come out of band and wipe out all of the tags, then the application stopped. So there's no way to know that directly from within the application. So it's because the guardrails would be basically the fences were taken down. So you're wondering why the cows are running everywhere. That's why.
But it's going to get only worse. Our industry is not going to get simpler. It's going to get more complicated because simpler things are not done by humans anymore. That's it.
We start with the easy things, but the problem is easy is now automatable.
Yeah, or part of a solution, right? So
yeah.
kind of you get the solution, third-party solution for easy stuff, right? And you spend things on doing more complicated stuff, and then more complicated stuff becomes commoditized.
Yes.
Commoditized, and then you go up, right? Kind of like, I think that our job as engineers is always to go like one step above
right.
what becomes irrelevant or not. What becomes easy.
We're supposed to be using our brains, not supposed to be. Well,
no, I mean, it's kind of almost like a joke, but I'm serious when I say that in one of the companies I worked a long time ago, I had a person dedicated to merging branches.
I used to be that person. That was one of my roles. We weren't at the same company. I would have known that. But no, that was part of the role that I was in. Is our 90% of our job was merging branches. And that was a miserable role to have. Because the problem is some of these projects, and when you were merging, one project I had to merge in was a 5-year branch. And it was like, and they were only pulling back into their branch about once every 6 to 8 months. This was CVS, by the way. This wasn't even Subversion. This was CVS.
Exactly.
It was painful.
Of course, but that's the point, kind of like, and that becomes a solved problem, right? Became a solved problem. Git made it a solved. I'm not saying that there are never conflicts, but you don't have a dedicated person to solve your pull requests, merge conflicts, right? It's a solved problem, and then you either retire or you do something else.
Yes.
That's the same thing. Like before, in that same time, I could send a person to the basement to check that one of the two big, gigantic servers we have and figure out what's wrong.
Yep.
Which cable got disconnected. And now it's not like that anymore.
So you've gone full Knative.
Yeah.
I may have to resurrect that app and see if I can Knative, because I was thinking about rewriting it anyway and just putting it on Heroku just to have it up and running. Because I've got some use cases for it, even for our stuff. And I was like, yeah, I don't really want to rewrite the whole thing as a monolith. Not that I'm opposed to a monolith. It'd be fine as a monolith. But it was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with it. But this looks interesting.
I mean, to be honest, now that kind of can bring an interesting conversation, then actually, does it even matter that it's 20 lines of Knative YAML, or actually the only thing that matters is that I have a container image, and then I can just as well put it to ECS. Yeah. As long as I spend a couple of hours trying to understand the instructions which are not understandable by a human, and I pass that point,
are you talking about Fargate ECS?
Fargate ECS. So not ECS, Fargate ECS.
Yeah, that is a challenge to run. I've done some projects on that, and it's not the most. In fact, that was the one project where I was using Polemy to do the stuff, and it was doable, but I had to do a lot of thinking just to get it through.
And that's the thing that's all. That's the problem I always had with ECS or without Fargate, is that I understand the benefits it has, but in my head, the main benefit is kind of like, just kind of like, no-brainer, kind of like, oh, I have a container, run it.
Yes.
And as soon as I need to do those 15 steps, maybe I will have to do it only one time in my life and never again.
Yeah.
I don't know, but why? Why?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you can get to the Heroku model, which it sounds like Cloud Run is as close to the Heroku model as possible right now. Why would you care? You don't care, right?
Now the reality is that real production systems are more complex than that. Kind of like there is a lot of history to take into account. So it's not that easy, to be honest. But if you're not enterprise company, then it's definitely something interesting to consider. And for enterprises, we need to talk.
Yeah, if you were a startup today, you should be doing Knative. That may be a stretch, but that's at least one that would be high on the list.
Yeah.
Right. I would probably, if I was doing a startup today and I'm wanting to manage my costs and I know roughly what I'm doing, it would be Knative, Heroku. What other services do we have?
I mean, theoretically, there is equivalent of that almost.
Well, or you could use serverless.com if you wanted to go down, if you were going to, but basically serverless is roughly the answer. It's not always the answer, but a lot of things could be.
Yeah, but that's the thing, kind of like serverless.com is mostly about first of all, I love them. I think that they're amazing what they did and all that stuff. But most of those serverless over there are functions.
Yes.
And I still do not see the point in functions. I can understand that there is somebody listening right now that has a good use case for one function or two. I understand that. But I still don't see the point. My world is not so small.
A fully functionalized function, or fully, because that goes beyond what's smaller than nano. Pico services, right?
Small nano.
Yeah.
Tiny nano.
So with Vladisław, he still doesn't have Istio.
Yeah, I mean, but that's a valid question. It's kind of like you need to decide. I mean, Istio is definitely going to stay, or a variation of a service mesh.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to use it no matter what. Same thing is Kubernetes is here to stay, and containers are here to stay for the foreseeable future, and all that jazz, right? Now is the question of which parts of all that story you want to let others manage, and which ones you want you to manage. And there is no universal answer. I cannot say Google Cloud everybody, or Knative on your own clusters everybody. But the main question is, do I want to bother with that? That's the question.
Right. It's, if you're a retailer, you're probably not going to be using AWS. If you are, a operating system company, you're probably not going to use Microsoft, right? It's going to be, or Azure, right? There's going to be the business has zero to do with technical, unfortunately. Yeah. It's all business and posturing. So I don't know. This is very interesting. But I gotta finish the other things that you already have on my task list before I can go look at this. So
I have other things in your task list.
Yeah, you still have stuff on my list that I haven't completed yet.
Okay.
I think you still have some that you haven't completed for me too, but that's fine.
Certainly. You know what I'm doing with your messages? I have a,
they go into a queue.
Slack. No, snooze tomorrow.
Oh, you snooze them.
Then I wake up in the morning and kind of in the morning, and then I check. No, I check which 5 of the 200 I'm going to be able to work on today, and yours are not on that list.
That's correct. And that's fine. Doesn't hurt my feelings at all. What questions does everybody else have? We've answered some of these. I still think if you are going to hang around this afternoon, if you got in a little bit late, AWS announced CodeArtifact, which is their Maven, NPM, Python repository. I think that is very interesting. If you're all in on AWS, man, it would be hard to not use it. The only thing I don't like out of their code family, and it's fine, I don't have a problem with it, is code commit, which is their Git repo. It works fine, but even within their ecosystem of code build and code pipeline, GitHub is still a first-class citizen there. I still prefer GitHub to be GitHub, but I'm completely fine with all the other code things that are happening inside of AWS. I'm not opposed to code commit. I've used that too, but I just like GitHub better because it's got issues. It's got all the other things that code commit does not have.
But that's what makes, Microsoft's purchase of GitHub brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant. Kind of like, to me, kind of having GitHub as a service, that's already a very compelling reason for me to choose Azure over others, to be honest.
Really? Okay, keep going with that.
I mean, I cannot not use GitHub, to be honest. Kind of, it's a golden standard. It's kind of where all open source is, where everything I need is, and why not use that as my own repository? I think GitLab is great.
Yep.
And I'm not going to compare it. I'm just going to say that I spend independently, so not on my work, right? Forget about what I'm using. I spend 90% of my time unrelated to my direct work in GitHub.
Yes.
So why not use GitHub for my own work as well?
Yeah.
That's my logic.
I've got, because of other projects that I still work on, I've got Bitbucket, I've got GitLab, and I've got GitHub. And if you compare just the SCM part of those three, just the SCM, forget all the other extra stuff, right? So I'm saying ignore issues from GitHub. I'm just ignore all those things. Just from an SCM perspective, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Use one of those three. Please use one of those three. If you don't like GitHub, that's fine. Go to GitLab, go to Bitbucket. It doesn't matter. Take your pick. Please don't go back to Subversion. Please don't self-host. Go use. You may ask why I'm saying that. Because I have people that still self-host. Don't do that. Come on. No, but I agree with you. I tend to like, and in fact, I pay for a pro account with GitHub, and I like it and I'll keep paying for it just because the features keep coming in better. It doesn't feel as clunky as either Bitbucket or GitLab. Nothing against them. It feels more smooth to me. But it's because I spend most of my time there, so I'm willing to ignore some of the warts that do happen in GitHub. Like trying to figure out where do I go create my personal access token? How many layers, how many clicks do I have to make to create a personal access token? Those kinds of things are a little more challenging. Because
assuming that you're not a company that works exclusively locked, kind of like you don't Google, right? Kind of, it's inevitable that majority of time you're going to spend on GitHub, no matter what is your private repositories.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the section, the next section of the course I'm working on is actually, I had exactly that. That was my argument for PowerShell against Bash or similar shell, right? Kind of.
Right.
It's not really argument anymore whether PowerShell is better than Bash or SH or not. That's not the argument. The argument is that most of the world uses shell, Linux shell. You have to use it no matter what. So why not actually use it then for the rest of the stuff as well? Yeah. Does that argument make sense?
To me,
it's not the quality anymore. I don't really care whether PowerShell is better anymore.
No. I need something that I can be portable across OSs with. Right?
Yeah.
That's just to minimize. It goes back to the earlier comments of writing Docker Compose files and Helm charts. It's like, I don't want to do both. I just want to do one. As close to one as possible. And you actually brought up something. It's like, this is the next section that you're working on. We actually have a survey. I don't know if you've seen Victor's... see, I remember things. So Victor put up a Google form, and you may have seen him tweet about it. I think he put it on Twitter and LinkedIn. I think I saw both. Go to this link, and then it'll get you redirected over to the Google form. And... in fact, I'll go ahead and pull it up here while we're still talking so you can sort of see what it looks like.
Don't judge when you see it. It's really full of random stuff. I literally copied and pasted my to-do list that is completely unstructured. Yeah. Ignore that.
Yeah. So here's the form. So if you follow the devopsparadox.com/survey, and the reason why we're going to use survey is we may add new surveys in the future, and that way we can just keep saying survey because we'll never have more than one survey running at once. Of course, that's probably a famous last sentence right then, because we'll probably end up having multiple surveys run at once. But this is the one that's going to matter most of the time, for at least for what we're doing. So topics, here's what's being worked on. And
Or
then,
finished.
That are semi-finished, right?
No. I mean, infrastructure is called, that's finished. Packaging is finished.
Yep.
The first two.
Right. Oh, that's what I'm saying. These two are done and published.
Yes.
If you haven't picked up the course yet on Udemy, go ahead and do that. Remember that if you buy the course on Udemy, Victor will send you the book, right? That's what we agreed to.
If you let me know. So I'm not going to send you by default.
Yeah, we're not going to dig through Udemy and figure out who bought what when. But we're working on these right now. And then there's basically a big long list here to where you can just check boxes. Did you put in... Well, you put pretty much everything in. Okay, good. And then you can put more down here. So if we don't have... You've got other and other. So which other would you prefer?
Just in case one other is not enough.
Yes. Well, does the other give you a, oh, there is a field there. Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to see on the screen. All right. So anyway, if you haven't filled out the survey yet, please go ahead and do that. If you haven't bought the catalog course, again, it's in flight and stuff's being added every week.
Let me just say the rules of the game. Whatever gets the most vote will be done next, unless we don't like it. Those are the rules.
And in case you're ever questioning, if you haven't signed up at the Slack space yet, by the way, I didn't tell you this. I created this shortcut because the other shortcut is hard to follow. So DevOpsParadox.com/ did I say it right? DevOpsParadox.com/Slack. That will redirect you if you haven't signed up for the Slack team yet. Slack Workspace, that's what it is. So yeah, please fill out the survey. That'll help direct where people may want us to go. Basically, we are I'm saying we, but it's primarily Victor right now. We are the people that you're dumping the work off that you don't want to do and try to do research on. And Victor's very happy with research.
Unless we don't like it.
Unless we don't like it.
Exactly. That's the,
okay.
Small letters below.
Give an example of something we don't like.
I don't want to, because the person who I had there are some suggestions that we are not going to do.
All right. One, I can give you one. Docker Swarm.
Okay.
Docker Swarm.
Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. Yes, Docker Swarm is not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, actually, it might. So let me rephrase. Yeah. Okay. Here, anything, whatever gets the most votes will be next section. Now, the next section might be 3 sentences. This is bullshit. Don't do it. But whatever gets the most vote gets in. Okay, that's a promise. Did I say the B word? Yeah, I did.
You did. I don't care. All right, so this is interesting. What about Gitty?
I don't see a use case.
Oh, come on. I do. We use it. We have a use case for it. We use it today. We don't.
Let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
So there are generally 2 types of shops, right?
Okay.
Small shops, startups. We're not spending a lot of money. We're not enterprise, huge company, right? Why not use GitHub.com or GitLab service or whatever? Kind of like, why bother with Gitea or any other solution? So it's not don't do self-hosted Git, right?
Right.
And then we have bigger shops, like medium to big size companies, enterprise banks and all that stuff. They're not going to use Gitea no matter what you tell them.
Right.
Because they want enterprise company behind, so they can scream at somebody when something goes wrong. So they're going to choose GitHub Enterprise or GitLab or things like that.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I'm not sure that there are many use cases, not any. How would you describe a typical user of Gitea?
So here is our specific use case for our day job. In our training solution, every student gets an image. We're moving that towards pods, but everybody gets their own pod, and they need their own Git server. And that is because it's lightweight. It gives you the same basic functionality as you would use in any of the big three, GitHub, Bitbucket, or GitLab. Right? So it's perfect for that type of use case. For a real self-hosted, doing my real work in it, no. Unless your startup is so backwards that they think that they can't use a service, that startup won't be around very long.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so it's kind of demos, workshops, training. That's a great use case.
Yeah, because it's better than just using raw Git at that point.
Yeah.
Because no matter which way you go with Bitbucket, GitLab, or GitHub, they're all basically the same. They're
very affordable for small teams. They're kind of really extremely affordable.
Yeah.
Or free. I mean, now we're all getting free repositories in GitHub. I'm not sure there is a limit to number of people.
There is.
I think that can
for
collaborate
privates.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very affordable. It's very. Don't drink coffee before work, and there you go.
Right. That pays for it for the month, right? All you have to do is skip one coffee for the month, and you're good. If you're drinking not black coffee, we're talking about going to Starbucks and getting one of those foo-foo coffees, right? That has the pretty little leaf on top of it or something. I don't remember what those are called. Art. Okay. Anything else? We might wrap a little bit early today.
Yeah, we're very close to the top of the hour. I don't know, nothing else. I already trashed too many products and companies, and I said F word once, so I think we did a good job.
If you said it, it got past my censor ears, so it's fine. Let's see. I'm trying to make sure I covered all the other things. So we did the survey, we did Slack, we talked about the 3 little notes. Loft, again, you need to go figure out. Now, why do you think you need Loft?
Me?
Yeah. You're just like,
I'm sure. I just read the kind of tagline. I don't know what it does yet, but kind of like create namespaces for teams.
Yeah.
It's something we really need. I'm really interested to see what is the security implications, because we are doing something like that, but there are security issues.
Right.
So it's curiosity for now. I have no idea what they do. Just, the title caught my attention.
Yeah, it looks interesting. So, and then of course we'll have the links for all 3 of these things today down in the description, including the one, sadly, that Kubernetes is going to be passed up
by a newcomer.
By a newcomer called Docker Swarm.
Actually, now I'm not sure. I think actually Docker Swarm started before Kubernetes. Okay. I cannot guarantee that, but I think it started before.
Let's see. Let's see if I can find it. Swarm mode. It would take me too long to figure that out.
Because there are different swarms, so there is a standalone and the one baked in. Forget it, but it's around the same time, if not before.
Oh, wait.
Wait.
Okay, so I asked the great and wise Google about this, and there was a blog post that came out by Boxboat, who is a consulting firm, in December. It says Mirantis said they will support Docker Swarm for the next 2 years. So that means, and based on the rough time when Mirantis took over, let's basically say that at the end of 2022, Docker Swarm, and I'm not going to put words in their mouth, that says continued support is uncertain at this time.
Read the next sentence. The first half of the next sentence is ridiculously ridiculous. That means that the already slowing development, I mean, there was basically no development on Docker Swarm 2 years before this happened. Non-existing development will come to a halt.
Yep, and the very last sentence there, at least from this snippet.
Yeah, I mean,
the time to migrate is now.
And now we're coming back to that argument I'm having. It's not that Swarm is bad. It's not that there is no use cases, but it makes no sense to spend a day setting it up.
Right.
If you know it's dead.
Right. Moz has this question about, does Containerd work on Mac yet?
Who cares?
That was not polite.
That was okay.
Moz is a regular. Come on.
Be nice. No. But kind of, No, I honestly don't know because that was aggressive. I honestly don't care anymore because I think that those things became so low level that I'm not sure. I'm running Minikube or Docker Desktop or GKE, and that has some API, and I tell it run a container, it runs container, and I don't know whether it's containerd or. I hope. I know that everybody has a plan to be on containerd. That I know for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking here right now just to see what's here. Releases, binaries. That's the beta, and then let's see if there was anything at the bottom. If I had to guess, the answer is.
I'm pretty sure it's no.
Yeah.
I think that. So here's the story.
Yeah.
Not based on facts that I can confirm, but the story is that Docker is still relatively strong on laptops, right? Yeah. That's their power base. And that's also the new focus of Docker after Mirantis is that kind of like we're going to focus on developers and drop. So if I see desktop Kubernetes engines like Minikube and Docker Desktop to be the last ones to ditch Docker for containerd, right? Because of that, I'm used to type Docker build, right? And there is nothing wrong with doing Docker build on your laptop.
No.
But clusters, I know AWS plans, I think, for the third quarter or fourth of this year to ditch Docker in favor of containerd. Okay. Google might be there, but I honestly don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, Moz. I didn't want to be aggressive. I like you.
He does. All right. Well, I think that's probably it for today, right? Should be.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Don't
be mean to the guy that wrote about Docker.
Nah.
I'm not.
That wasn't my intention. It's just that my mouth works. My mouth works faster than brain. And that's not because my mouth works fast, but because my brain doesn't work. It's slow.
Ask my wife. She'll tell you the same thing. My mouth goes a little bit faster sometimes. Not a good thing. All right. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out for today. We should be back next week. And hopefully we'll have a live guest on in 2 weeks. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Assuming
Is that
we get
the SEAL guy?
Miko, yeah.
Miko, yes. He's a cool guy.
Yep, very cool. So we'll talk to you next week. If you got any questions throughout the week, go join us over in the Slack workspace. Go ask the questions maybe over in the podcast channel. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and do that. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go ahead and do that now as well. Ring that bell.
So do the survey.
Do the survey. Oh, you know what? Let me put that back up in case you haven't caught it yet. DevOpsParadox.com/survey. Where's my link? There it is. Too many places. Did I spell it right? Yeah, I did. Okay, good.
Probably.
Go do the survey. If you've got some time today, this evening, wherever you are, or this weekend, go through that. That'll be very helpful for us. Right? Okay. That's it. Wait. Do I get one more comment? Okay. Yep. Moz. Thank you. Moz, you're one of the regulars. I keep on clicking that. It's not happening today. Thanks everybody that's showing up on a consistent basis. We do appreciate it. For now, let's head on out. We'll rock it out for about 30 seconds and then everybody go night-night as I go back to work. See y'all. And it's not working. Isn't that interesting? Well, the overlay's not working. Oh, see ya. Bye.